Welcome to today's episode of Come Let Us Reason Together. Today we will be talking about the state of affairs of Nigeria. Nigeria is fractured. Whether we like it or not, whether we pretend we don't see it, but it's there for everyone to see. And people who choose to look at the country with blinkers, well, will have no one to blame but themselves. If you turn on the news, if you watch what's going, first of all, really saddened to hear about the death of that young, upcoming lass from Arise, Somi, I believe is her name. What a horrible, horrible way to die. I mean, I'm not going to go into the details of all the mis and disinformation, skirting around left and right. All I know is that a human being is dead, and our prayers should just be with her family, her friends, and those she cares about, and pray that God grants us all some repose. Now, Nigeria has been fractured from day dot. The fracture lines were drawn ab initio by the English, and I chose that word English very, very carefully, because when people talk about the United Kingdom and all this business, the Welsh had nothing to do with conquering. They were conquered. So same goes with the British, with the Scottish, and same goes with the Irish. These people are distinct people. They have their own language. Till tomorrow they are kind of still fighting for their independence. So I said the English. Now, it's unfortunate that some military person, stopped history from being told. And we know that saying that, those who don't learn from their history are bound to repeat it, which is precisely what's going on. I could not believe my ears when I heard that history was no longer being taught. It's just now that they're putting it back in the curriculum. I was like, what? No history? Jesus Christ. But anyway, so these fracture lines are now staring everyone in the face, and we are refusing to face up to the fact that this forced, abusive marriage that has been hoisted upon the people of that region has failed. It was hoisted upon us by the English, okay? I don't mean the Badenoch type. I mean like proper English, okay? Now, no matter how many band-aids, band-aids, those little plastery things you put on small wounds, no matter how many of them we apply to these massive fault lines, we're just deceiving ourselves. Nigeria will eventually fragment. I mean, you only need to open, just open the news, and it's one tale of war after the other. It's one sort of millions or billions in dollars discovered someplace. Nigeria is the only country where, you can just rock up overnight, get a government job, and overnight, you're rich for the rest of your generations that will ever be born. I show me any country where that's possible without a visible industry. Without a visible industry. The other day they had somebody Amechi on the thing. This is a man who has never contributed a dime to the economy. And when they asked him, he just threw his wife under the bus and said, oh, she's a nearly industrialist. I thought, gee, that's a new one, a nearly industrialist or whatever he said. And I was like, you shameless son of a gun. Like, own up, be a man. You stole, and now you're out of power. And they're asking you very basic questions that your fellow, bandwagon of friends have done, and they have their answers down pat. With all the law school that you went to, you couldn't even answer a basic question like that without throwing your wife under the bus. Anyway, they're not the topic of this discussion. So, I think that the international community should take notes, make notes. They've interfered, severally in our body policy over the years, and somehow I'm actually glad that, President Tinubu is ignoring the the people who had a big hand in our state of affairs today. Not to say that where he's going to, they are any better. They are just terrible. In fact, the other day, I was telling my husband, I said, Tinubu's presidency, he reminds me of Trump 2.0. Well, I've got my Trump hat over there. He reminds me of Trump 2.0. Like, he's been everything, governor, senator, this, so he knows the terrain, okay? I'm not saying he's clean as a whistle, but I think he probably has had his salt to pour moments, and he's trying to rectify some of the things that he believes he has a hand in. And he got to that place with an agenda, a well-mapped agenda, which he is methodically carrying out. And if he does it very well, okay, the country might stand a chance of surviving. But if he doesn't, this cook-up called Nigeria has no legs to stand on. Give it a couple of decades, that country is going to split, either along religious lines or along, ethnic lines or along regional blocks, or however it's going to split. And for me, if you know that's where you're heading, why don't you just head there quickly and don't waste everyone's time, okay, pretending that there's unity, that kind of nonsense. Now, what I've noticed is that the people who want business as usual, they are the ones saying, we're united, all this kind of nonsense. They are the ones who are either benefiting from the system right now, have benefited from it before, or have an agenda to benefit from it. Because they only need to open their eyes and see. The other day, Fulanis were being chased out of Ilorin, Lagos, rightly so, told the Igbos to take a hike because Lagos does not belong to them. The other day, El Rufai, again, that devil, came out and said, a large chunk of Abuja is owned by 3 states. And, before the states were named, I already told my husband, they will be from one part of the country. And that is the way it turned out. That is the way it turned out, because those people always have a grab mentality, land grab, expansionist tendencies, which they showed during the Biafran War. Talking about the Biafran War, I was surprised to see a serving minister in Tinubu's government, Bianca Ojukwu, honoring somebody who was aiding and abetting the secessionist plans of Mr. Ojukwu, or Emeka Ojukwu, honoring him, while serving in this government. Why did she honor him? He was showing his support for Biafra trying to succeed by self-immolating himself. Now, any right-thinking government, you know, should not have such a woman in government. But it seems like there's this sense of, oh, we've done Ojukwu wrong or some business like that. Because I don't know what the qualification of that woman is. She's beautiful. Okay, that's a qualification, I think, in Nigerian politics. You're beautiful. You don't have to have the smarts. Either you're beautiful, marry the right guy, know the right person, or you're the daughter or the son of ABC, and you'll get places. But still, that does not excuse that kind of behavior. And to think that she is the foreign minister, I thought to myself, these people are jokers, serious jokers. And that again leads me to the Jonathan Desiani affair. Now, I'm sure a lot of Nigerians were not aware. They just, love Auntie Pay. Let me just call her that way because we have a Patience in my family and she's called Pay, okay? Auntie Patience, right? Auntie Patience makes people laugh and, she talks like your everyday man. So, yep, Nigerians, we love stuff like that. In fact, that's why I love Trump. Okay, he just says it as it is. Like, if you like him or hate him, that's your problem. Like, he just says it. So Auntie Pay says her stuff. I know I've been reading about Desiani. Why? Because, unlike the Nigerian news, I've got access to other news sources from around the world. And, I just took it as an isolated, another thieving Nigerian, this time a woman, managed to even convince one of these Caribbean countries to make her a citizen, make her something, give her a diplomatic passport, until the British government, came into the fray. Now, a lot of Nigerians are not aware that Goodluck Jonathan, who is now trying to come back, or someone is fooling him and being the stupid person that he is, he's listening to them. Because he is, and still is, and was then married to the blood sister of Desiani. And in fact, it's on account of that union that he made her a minister. Meanwhile, shipped her away to the United States with the children because Auntie Pay here could not have kids. So he married this one who now had kids for him. Of course, as usual, he became deputy governor, not elected, became governor, not elected, became deputy vice president, not elected, became president. Can't think of any presidents in Nigeria, but anyway. And I gather from reliable sources, like any, there comes my dog, like any man of wealth in that country, as soon as they make it, they want a trophy wife, a wife that looks very cool, very presentable, a trophy wife. That's what we call them. And I was told that Auntie Pay put her foot down and said, lie, not gonna happen. If I am not the first lady in Aso Rock, I am just going to blow this thing open and I'm just gonna tell Nigerians that, Desiani that carted away our money is actually your sister-in-law. How many of you knew Desiani was related to Goodluck Jonathan? So it's this same man that allowed this rogue of a woman to steal. In fact, her courage is only matched, I think. Even she beats a lot of men in the stealing mode. So her courage is only matched, I can think, by that Achimugu woman, another Stella Odua, another appointee of Goodluck Jonathan, who robbed this country dry. And they are all out there basically trying to enjoying their wealth, not until the British stepped in the case of Desian. And did Goodluck ever say anything while all those things were going on? No, we had to find out through other sources and other means. And is this same man you want to bring back? Great. Look, I am so liking this whole scenario for Tinubu. I am so liking it. Why? Because the people that are encouraging these fools to come back into the fray, they know precisely what they are doing. I'm not even going to talk about Obi, because he's a non-starter when it comes to Nigerian politics. These people are just going to play him, use him, chew him, and spit him out. That's what's going to happen. And I hear, I hear from some paid, we call it renter crowd over here, some paid renter crowd, Tinubu's not going to win. Yeah, well, at least Southern Kaduna, let me talk for Southern Kaduna, okay? Not true. Not true. I was home recently and they have seen the errors of their ways by believing this rubbish about voting for a rubbish Christian like Obi. A rubbish Christian, person like Obi. They can see that the so-called Muslim tickets, Tinubu has delivered for them more than all the previous governments of that country combined. Their eyes are open, and I spoke to quite an array of people. So anyone, I'm not saying Tinubu's team should, rest on their oars and just sit down and say, oh, well, yeah, we put a university and so end of story. No, do your due diligence as political actors and political players. Don't take anyone for granted, but don't believe that propaganda that people from Southern Kaduna are not going to vote for Tinubu. That's a lie. That's a cooked up lie by usually Southern Kaduna people, those idiot elites that still live in the plantation, okay, that were benefiting from their Fulani overlords, okay, those ones that get positions, never help their people, and when the Fulani say jump, they say how high. Some of them are the ones sponsoring all these things. So my little advice to President Tinubu is that, dine carefully with these people. Dine very, very carefully. Because especially the elites, okay, the common man on the streets, they like what you're doing. And please keep doing it. But those elites, turn your back tomorrow and you'll see what will happen. They will all go groveling to El Rufai and his likes if he ever gets into power in that country. Okay? The other day he made an allegation that, Southern Kaduna leaders were coming to him for favors, for monies, for things to go for treatment overseas. How many of them came out to debunk him? How many? None. Zero. Zilch. Nada. Nothing. That's because what he said was probably true. I mean, I hated the whole interview he did, but what he said was probably true. They don't have the courage, because if you know you're a Southern Kaduna leader and you did not benefit from El Rufai, then you will come out and say, look, don't paint us all with the same brush. But did you hear any of them come out and say anything? Whether religious, military, civilian, did you hear any of them come out to say anything? No, they didn't. That's because they truly benefited from him. And that's why when you speak to some of them privately, they actually support El-Rufai. So don't think because they are in your government right now or in politics right now and they've come with their lies. Don't listen to them. You know, I will vote for, what's his name, you know, Ribadu, than to vote for any of those Southern Kaduna leaders currently serving. Yes, I will. Much as I've said before, they should be carved out to go and join their cousins in Niger and all these kind of things. But to show you how you must be absolutely careful, okay? Because the treachery that's going on amongst and within them knows no bounds. Knows absolutely no bounds. All the constituency allowances they get, Mr. Akpabio, can you take a trip to Southern Kaduna? Let them show you any projects that they have done for their people, or whoever is in charge of monitoring those kind of things. Let them show you. The federal rep for that Southern Kaduna area, nothing to show. Yeah, he's got a big mansion like the White House, and I hear there's electricity leading to his place, but the rest of the place is in darkness. The people are in abject poverty, if not that they are hardworking people, hardworking subsistence farmers. You know, they will just be beggars on the streets while their so-called leaders whine, dine with the devil, wipe their mouth clean, and then come to Tinubu and start pretending. It's high time, Mr. President. It's high time you start knowing these people for who they are. Not all who call me Lord, 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 okay, will enter my kingdom, okay? So I hope that with your brilliant political strategy so far, that you don't rest on your oars, you don't take people on face value. Well, you should at the beginning, but then, you know, when you're inviting them to the table, just make sure they haven't got a knife, okay? They haven't got a knife like Barack, stuck on the right hand side of his pants, with which he used to kill King Hazel. Thank you for listening. I will see you in a bit. Thanks.